سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر.
There are 7 other dimensions that are hidden from us, that are hidden from our physical eye.
Anyone who is following a specific path in religion has his fingers in his ears, has his hands in front of his eyes, and he doesn't want to see and he doesn't want to hear. The majority of people today following the 3 major religions have absolutely no idea of the religion. The only people that would understand are what Quran is mentioning as ulul albab, men of understanding. So we have free will. Every single person has free will. But our free will and our control of our surrounding can get stronger and stronger if we start to purify our nafs. بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم الحمد لله رب العالمین و به نستعین اعوذ بالله من الشیطان الرجیم بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم والعصر ان الانسان لفی خسر الا الذین آمنوا و عملوا الصالحات و تواصوا بالحق و تواصوا بالصبر لا حول ولا قوة الا بالله العلی العظیم. Salaam alaikum, dear brothers and sisters, viewers of Salaam TV. First of all, I would like to apologize for this long delay that we had in our English program about Quran and science. It was because of some personal and family reasons, but inshallah, starting this Monday, we're going to continue the program in English, inshallah, every Monday, 7 p.m. sharp, Pacific Standard Time. The program would still be about Christianity and a historical look at the origin of Christianity, the Old and the New Testament. Because nowadays, there are a lot of rumors calling Islam a religion of war, a religion that is promoting terrorism. I think it's fair enough to look at why those rumors are around and what we can do as Muslims to defend our beautiful religion. First of all, if we look at the history of wars, we can easily see that we can differentiate the different wars in different categories and separate them. The number 1 wars, if you look at the number of wars, the number 1 reason was economical issues and power issues. And most of those wars were between people that didn't believe in God. But I don't want to go into the history of all wars. That's going to take us maybe like 20 programs. But just go over the wars the last century, the 20th century. The major wars, the World War I and World War II, that caused the death of about 120 million people around the world, had nothing to do with religion. It was a religion of ideology. having in the background always the economic and power reason. But the main part was ideology. Some people thought that because of the race and the political system that they wanted for the world, they thought they were superior to others. They thought that they have a better way of managing the world. So those were World War I and World War II started. And it had nothing to do with religion. As I said, about 120 million people perished in those two wars. The major wars of the 20th century were wars of ideology, non-divine ideologies, between communism mostly and capitalism. All those ideas created by man, all those philosophies were created by man, had nothing to do with divinity and God. The second categories are wars between believers and unbelievers. People who don't believe in God and people who believe in God. Those wars are very, very small in numbers. We don't have too many wars between believers and unbelievers in the last century. And then we have the wars between believers. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism. The major religions of today's world. Now, believers are telling us that Islam is a religion that has been promoted by the sword. Why there is such a thing? By reading the Quran, can we see that Islam is a religion of war and sword? Or there is something else, some other facts that are giving the impression that Islam is a religion of war? To understand this, we need to go a little bit back in the history of Islam and find out why there is such an impression in the non-Muslim world. If you look at the history of Islam, starting with the advent of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his progeny, you would see that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his progeny fought many wars. Except one of those wars, all of those were defensive wars, not offensive. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his progeny never initiated a war. The only war was the Battle of Badr, and because the Prophet received some information about that imminent attack, and he had no other choice than to start that war. But all the others were defensive wars. Now, if we go to the events after Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his progeny's life, we would see that the majority of those wars, the majority of them, were wars of imperialism. They were wars to create more power, to have more land, and to have more influence on the region. So we have to be very careful. We have to be extremely careful when talking about Islam, not to mix those two issues. Islam is not a religion that want to expand by force. It doesn't work. It would backfire. A lot of countries, especially in East Asia, became Muslim by just promotion. People would go to those countries, and promote Islam. And because of the beauty of the message, people would become Muslim, mostly in East Asia. And there are millions and millions of people that converted to Islam through that process without any war. And in any country that Islam was promoted through war, you can see that the level of knowledge those people have about Islam is extremely, extremely low. Very low knowledge. It's all about extremism. All about extremism and rituals without a deep understanding of the message of the Prophet. A movie came out about 4 or 5 years ago. The name of that movie was Islam, the Empire of Faith. First of all, the name was extremely dangerous because Islam never thought of having an empire through battles and through sword. Islam is a religion that wants to gain hearts, and that's the best way to promote this religion, because it has the best way of living for all humanity. No doubt about it. Anyone who knows Islam knows that this is the best way for humanity to live together in peace and harmony. So if today Islam is shown as a religion of war and aggression, is because of the history of Islam and what happened after the death of Prophet of Islam. Because a group of people were interested in gaining power. And the easiest way of doing this, because they didn't have any knowledge of Islam, they didn't understand the true meaning of the revelation, so they couldn't go and promote it by lecture. They couldn't go and promote it by intellectual talk. So the easiest way for those Bedouins was to go and force it on people. And unfortunately, that backfired. And we see the results, brothers and sisters, today. We see the results today. The group of people that wanted to promote Islam by force were the same people that massacred Imam Hussein alayhi salam, his family and his companions in the day of Ashura in the desert of Karbala. Same people. People that were considering themselves Muslims but had absolutely no clue about the message of Islam. They would kill their prophet's grandson and his family, and they would take prisoners their women and children just because they didn't agree with the way they were practicing Islam. And we see the remnants of those mistakes today. And we can still see that the majority of Muslims around the world are being taught the hadith. The hadith is that the majority of them have never been said by the Prophet of Islam. Never. Pure invention to promote the ideas of the kings and the Khalifa so they can stay in power. Exactly the same way it's today. Exactly the same way. Look at the Muslim world. Do you see any democracy in the Muslim world? Do you see any elections? You see a president that is in power for 20, 30, 40 years. No election. They are president for life. And to stay in power, they are ready to do anything, anything, even kill innocent Muslims. They are ready to make a pact with the evil, kill their brothers, their Muslim brothers and sisters, just to stay in power. And these are exactly the same people with the same mentality that existed after the death of Prophet of Islam. The same people with the same mentality. And the same way that Muslims were silent at that time, they are also silent today. And that's the reason Muslims are being butchered all around the world. And none of those kings or presidents for life are moving the little fingers. Not only they don't do anything to defend them, but they also get together and shake hands with their enemies, with the enemies of Muslims. So that's the reason Islam is called a religion of violence today. Not because of what exists in the Quran, not because of the way Prophet Muhammad and his progeny lived, no. Because of the savage acts of power-hungry people that took hostage Islam as a religion for their own purposes. To prove my point, brothers and sisters, I would like to show you in this program, and inshallah the next week, I would like to show you and make a comparison between the verses in the Quran when it comes to war and the verses that exist in the Bible. I think that's the easiest way to make my point when it comes to war, when it comes to defend yourself. We're going to compare those verses in the Bible and in the Quran. First, we're going to start with the Bible. In the Old Testament, if you want to show the first slide, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse number 1. It says, "When Jehovah the God shall bring you in the land whither you goes to possess it, and shall cast out many nations before you, the Hittite, the Girgashite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, 7 nations, greater and mightier than you." Number 2, "And when Jehovah the God shall deliver them up before you, and you shall smite them, then you shall utterly destroy them. You shall make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them." I think there is no any need for explanation. It's self-explanatory. Now, verse number 6. "For you are a holy people unto Jehovah the God." This is in the Old Testament, talking about the Israelites. "Jehovah the God had chosen you to be a people for his own possession, above all people that are upon the face of the earth." Now imagine if we as Muslims, if we would have a verse like this in our Quran, telling that you, Muslims, it means the follower of Prophet Muhammad, because anyone who has full submission to God is a Muslim. So when I say Muslim, it means, let's say, the follower of Prophet Muhammad. Let's say it says, "You follower of Prophet, peace be upon him and his progeny, you are the chosen people of God. You are the chosen people of God. And you are above all people on planet Earth." Imagine we had that verse in the Quran. Don't you think that the whole world, non-Muslim world, would show that ayah and say, "Look at those people, they are racist. Their book is racist. They are promoting racism. They are saying we are superior to other people because we are chosen by God. You don't even see one verse like this in the Quran, brothers and sisters. They said in God's eye, a person is valued by his deeds. And that's it. Nothing else. Race, color, money you have, doesn't matter. The only thing that makes you valuable and give you a high rank in God's view are your good deeds and nothing else. Next slide. Still Deuteronomy number 7, verse number 23. But Jehovah the God will deliver them up before you, and will discomfit them with a great discomfort. I just copied whatever was in the Old Testament. With a great discomfort, until they'll be destroyed. And he will deliver their kings into your hand, and you shall make their name to perish from under heaven. There shall no man be able to stand before you until you have destroyed them. Now Deuteronomy number 20, verses 10, 11. When you draw near unto a city to fight against it, then proclaim peace unto it. And it shall be, if it make you answer of peace, if they accept your peace and open unto you, then it shall be that all the people that are found therein shall become tributary unto you and shall serve you. Now here I have to make a little explanation. When the Israelites would start the war, they were two kinds of people. They would have two kinds of people as enemy. One of them are people that live in the land that was promised to them. Okay. First of all, if you look at the Old Testament, the land was never promised to people today. Never. This is a covenant God had with Prophet Moses when they came out of Egypt. Okay. It was a temporary covenant with God, between the Israelite and God. It was not an eternal covenant. It's very clearly stated. It was a temporary covenant. And the covenant would exist if they would follow the commandments of Prophet Moses. If they would not, that covenant even at that time would not exist. But today, a group of people think that God has opened a real estate agency, like Century 21 now has a branch in the heavens, and is selling land and giving a commission to God. So they are telling this land is for you, that land is for you. The land belongs to God, doesn't belong to anyone. Anyone. We can all live in peace together whenever we want, wherever we want, to peace. The land belongs to God, not to any government, to any president, not to any people. Belongs to God, and we need to learn to live in peace together. When they would go to war, they had two kind of enemies. The one that were living supposedly in the promised land, and people would live in other lands that didn't belong to them. So if they would go and fight in a place that the land they thought belonged to them, the rules of engagement were different from the lands that didn't belong to them. Those verses are for the lands that didn't belong, supposedly, didn't belong to Israel. So when they would go to those lands, first they would ask to make peace. And if that city would accept the peace process and the peace proposal, then they would go to the city, and everybody in the city would become their servant. So if they would go inside the city, they would not give freedom and a democracy and say, you know what, you open your doors to us, now let's live in peace together. No, they have to become their servant. And whatever money they have and wealth they have would become the money and wealth of the Israelite. And they said, no, if they don't make peace with you, let's say they go, they said, we want to have this land. I know it doesn't belong to us, but we want it. And the group of people in the opposite side, they would say, you know what, we're not going to give it. We have been here for many years. And they would say, okay, now let's start the war. Now, Deuteronomy 20, number 12. And if they would not make peace with you, and they want to make war against you, then besiege it. And when Jehovah the God deliver into your hand, you shall smite every male thereof with the edge of the sword. Now imagine, you go and they say, no, do you know what? Defend ourselves. You're coming to take our land, we want to defend ourselves. They say, okay. Now, these are the laws supposedly made by God for those people. Go inside and smite every male. Cut their head off. You need to cut the head of every male in that city. Deuteronomy 20, number 14. Now, what about women? So the man, we know. You have to kill them all. Cut their head. But the woman and the little ones, the babies, and the cattle, and all that is in the city, even all the spoil thereof, shall you take for a prey unto yourself. And you shall eat the spoil of thine enemies, which Jehovah the God had given you. Thus shall you do unto all the cities which are very far off from you, which are not of the cities of these nations. So if you go and you want to attack a town that doesn't belong to you, that God, the escrow company and the real estate agency that it has in the heavens haven't signed the title for you, it didn't go through escrow, those one go kill all the male. God is giving you the permission. Cut their head off. The woman and the children, they're going to become your woman and your children. All the cattle, everything that belongs to them would be yours. So the only difference, if they make peace, you don't kill them. If they don't make peace, kill them, but still whatever is in the city is yours. Number 16, Deuteronomy 20. But of the cities of these people that Jehovah the God has given you for an inheritance, if you want to show the slide, you shall save alive nothing that breathe. If you want to show the slide, please. Yes, Deuteronomy 20, 16. Now here is the second category. Now if there are some lands that God has given you as an inheritance, it means the real estate agency in the heavens have signed the escrow and God has given it to you. And he took his commission. Now those lands, if you go into those lands, don't save alive nothing that breathe. Now, what does it breathe? Men, women, children, cattle. Kill them all. Don't leave them alive. Kill women, kill children, kill men, kill cattle. But you shall utterly destroy them. Destroy the city. The Hiti, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, they are repeating those tribes. And they say at the end, because God has commanded you. It means the God of Israelites is a God that telling them that if I sold you the land in my real estate agency in the heavens, now those lands, go in there, kill everybody. Kill men, kill women, kill children, kill the cattle. Destroy that city. Don't let anything be alive. I'm telling you. Now, when you have this mentality, brothers and sisters, and I want to give you some examples. Some examples. Because you never see these in the Muslim world. Never. Never. Now, with this mentality, what's going to happen? About 4 or 5 months ago, I'm sure you all heard, it was all over the news in the United States. All over the news. Major newspapers, major news channel. That a group of people in New Jersey got arrested for organ trafficking. It means they would take people, take a kidney out if they wanted to leave them alive, or they would take everything out if they wanted to kill them, and they would take their organs and they would sell it. Why? Because some of those people live in a land that doesn't belong to them, but they don't want to make peace with it. and some others are living in a land that they think it belongs to them, God has given them the authorization to kill them. So they can kill them. But God didn't say anything about organs. So if by killing we can also make some money, why not? Let's kill them. And on the side, make a couple of boxes by selling their organs. Now, if you want to show the slide, that picture was all over the news, brothers and sisters, all over the news 6 months ago. Now, who was the main brain behind this organ trafficking? The rabbis in New Jersey. People who believe in those writings and act on it. They believe in it and they act on it. And all over the news, we saw that US agents arrested 44 elected officials and Jewish rabbis because of organ trafficking. Now, if you ask them, why did you do this? Why did you kill innocent people to sell their organs? They would say it's in the book. We are just doing what God is telling us to do. And we saw another article in August 18th, 2009, in a Swedish newspaper. After a couple of months of investigation, they found that a lot of people, Muslim people, in the occupied land, they would be killed, their organs would be removed, and would be sold. And that was also all over the news in August of 2009. Very recent, brothers and sisters. Now let's continue the Bible, the Old Testament. The book of Numbers in the Old Testament, book 31, verse number 1, 2, and after. And Jehovah spoke unto Moses, saying, Avenge the children of Israel of the Midianite. And they warred against Midian, as Jehovah commanded Moses, and they slew every male. It means God told them, go and kill. Doesn't matter if they are innocent, if they are not innocent, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if they came to make war with you, or they were against the war, doesn't matter, just kill them. I'm the God, and I'm telling you to kill them all. It's okay. Go kill them. Number 8 and 9. The book of Numbers, and they slew the kings of Midian with the rest of their slain, Evi and Rechem and Zur and Hur and Reba, the 5 kings of Midian. Balaam also, the son of Baur, they slew him with the sword. And the children of Israel took captive the women of Midian and their little ones, and all their cattle, and all their flocks, and all their goods they took for a prey. Let me here, I want to go to, I'm going to bypass those slides. Inshallah, I would come back to it next week. But I want to continue our review of the Bible. And inshallah, I would come back to those slides next week. Now, the book of Numbers again, number 31, verse number 10. And all their cities in the places wherein they dwelt, and all their encampments, they burned with fire. So, kill the man, kill the woman, kill the cattle. What about the city? What about the buildings? Burn them. You can burn them. It's God telling them. And they took all the spoil and all the prey, both of man and of beast. Now therefore, kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that has not known man by lying with him. But all the woman children that have not known men lying with them, keep alive for yourself. Now here, that's where it becomes interesting, brothers and sisters. They said kill all men and women if it was the promised land. But now if it's not the promised land, I told you to kill all male, burn the city. Now what do we do with the men and women? The woman, here they categorize them in 2 groups, virgins and non-virgins. Virgins and non-virgins. Non-virgins, kill them. Any non-virgin woman, you can kill them. Slew them like the male. Cut their head off. Now, what if they are virgin? Those you can keep. Now, the problem is, in a battlefield, you cannot hire gynecologists to take every woman in an exam room and find out if they are virgin or not. That takes time. It's impossible. So those rabbis that think removing organs from other people, it's okay because they are not from the same belief system, so you can remove their organs because they are not from the same, they don't believe in the same book. They said we need to find a solution for this verse because our soldiers, they're going to go into those cities, they're going to kill all the men. We tell them kill the non-virgin woman and keep the virgin woman. They need to know who is virgin, who is not a virgin. They said, no problem, we have a solution. We're going to interpret this verse for you. Now, this is the interpretation of that verse. This refers to her who has slept with a man as well as her who is suitable for intercourse, even if she has slept with a man. But all the young girls who have not known a man by sleeping with him, keep alive for yourself. Now here, Rabbi Shimon Yochai, he interpreted this verse. He said a girl in the age of less than 3 years and 1 day is rendered fit to marry unto priesthood. So if a girl is less than 3 years and 1 day, the rabbi can marry her. It can become his wife. And by going with this interpretation means that Moses, they say not me, they say Moses. I'm doing the interpretation. Now I'm telling Moses. Moses therefore had ordered the Israelites to kill all women older than 3 years and 1 day because they were suitable to having sexual relations. Unbelievable, brothers and sisters. Unbelievable. And we are being attacked. We are being attacked today for being a religion of intolerance, a religion of war, a religion of sword, brothers and sisters. Rabbi Shimon Yochai, he says that my interpretation from that book of Numbers 31 is that any girl who is more than 3 years and 1 day is not virgin anymore. Consider it as a non-virgin. You can kill her. But if she is less than 3 years and 1 day, take her as a prey, bring it to the rabbi so the rabbi can marry her, because you are suitable for marriage with the rabbi. Allahu Akbar, brothers and sisters. I'm telling you, it's amazing, amazing. In Islam, they tell us, even though we have absolutely no proof of it, they are telling us that Aisha got married to the Prophet when she was 9. And the Prophet was 40 and something years old. And they call this pedophilia. And A'udhu Billah, Astaghfirullah, they said that the Prophet of Islam was a pedophile because at the age of 40 and something, of 50 and something, he married a 9-year-old girl. And you know very well like me that a 9-year-old girl we see today can be well developed, that she can look like a 17 or 18-year-old. There are many 9-year-olds that they are fully developed, they have finished their puberty, and they look like a 15, 16, or 18-year-old girl. But they tell us that in the religion of Islam, you guys are allowing pedophilia. Now, this is the Old Testament, brothers and sisters. It's in the Bible. The Bible is a compilation of the Old and the New Testament. So you have to believe in all of it. You cannot say I believe in one part and I don't believe in the other. You have to believe in everything. It's telling you that if a girl is more than 3 years and 1 day, she can become the wife of the rabbi. Just the rabbi, not any normal person. Just the rabbi. If she's more than 3 years and 1 day. But if she's less, kill her in the war. You can kill her, no problem. Samuel, number 15, verse number 3. We're going to continue, you know, the misery. Now go and smite Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. Psalms 137:9. Oh, the happiness of him who do seize, and has dashed their suckling on. Here, again, is giving them the permission to kill even the suckling. It means little babies that are just born, less than 6 months. That means kids that are still being breastfed. Because this question would arise. The soldier would go inside the house. He would kill the man. He would kill the man. He would kill the woman. He would see a little girl. How old are you? I'm 4 years old. He would kill the 4-year-old because he's more than 3 years and 1 day. How old are you? I'm 2 years old. Oh, okay, you're good to come and marry my rabbi. Now, what about the newborn? What about a newborn that is 6 months old, 7 months old, 9 months old? What do we do with those kids? Kill them. But don't kill them just by the sword, because this is not good enough. Do you know how to kill them? You have to smash their head on the rock. Go on the internet, brothers and sisters, and search. And see if those acts have been performed or not based on those verses. Yes, go on the internet and check and see. There are many, many pictures of kids that their heads, of newborns, that their head has been smashed on the rocks based on those verses, brothers and sisters. And they are telling us that your religion is a religion of war. This is in the Bible, in the Old Testament. What do we do with the newborn? Smash their head against the rocks. That's how you kill them. Just don't cut their head. Just don't shoot them. No, that's not good enough. That's not joyful enough. That's not how we have fun. Smash their head against the rocks. That's how you kill them. Joshua 6:21. And they utterly destroy all that was in the city, both man and woman, both young and old, and ox and sheep and ass, and with the edge of the sword. And they burned the city with fire, and all that was therein, only the silver and the gold and the vessels of brass and of iron. They put it into the treasury of the house of Jehovah. But Rahab the harlot and her father's household and all that she had did Joshua sell alive. Now Joshua is the story of Joshua attacking a city. He says that Joshua in that city killed everyone, even the cattle. Every animal that existed in that city got killed. Men, women, children, suckling, they're all dead. But they also killed all the animals in that city. They burned everything that existed in that city. But God told them, you know what? The silver, the iron, the brass, whatever has value. Because people have no value. Human life has no value. Babies have no value. Women have no value. Cattle have no. Kill them. Burn the city. And then take those stones. Take those minerals with you. Minerals have value. And we see it today. People have no value. Oil has value. But people have no value. Kill them. Kill them all. But take the gold and the silver and the brass and the iron. Now the amazing part in that verse is they just left alive one family in that city. Who was that family? Would you think it was the noblest man in that city? Would you think it was the best man? It was like a savant, or was like a extremely intelligent person? He was like a high religious. I mean, a man of honor, a family of honor? No. The only family that they left alive was a harlot. What's a harlot? A prostitute. The only family that they left alive was a prostitute and her family. Now, what is the reason behind it? I don't know. The book of Kings, book 2, chapter 2, verses 23 and 24. And he, Elisha, went up from thence unto Bethel, and he was going up by the way. There came forth young lads out of the city, and mocked him, and said unto him, Go up, you bald head. Go up, you bald head. I guess Elisha was bald-headed. And he looked behind him and saw them, and cursed them in the name of Jehovah. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the wood, and tear 42 lads of them. Now, brothers and sisters, Elisha was a prophet. I mean, in their nonsense and in their madness, they'd even make evil out of the prophets. They make them even evil. It says Elisha went to a city, Bethel. A couple of young guys, you know, they're kids. They say they saw a bald-headed guy, and they told him, you know, go up, you bald-headed guy. A couple of young kids. This is the prophet of God. You see how they destroy everything? Now, the prophet of God cursed those kids. And because he cursed those kids, a bear came, the she-bears came, and killed 42 of those children. And now that prophet was happy, because a couple of kids called him bald-headed. He prayed to God for the she-bears to come and kill 42 innocent children, just because they called him bald-headed. And we are called in Islam a religion of non-tolerance. Prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his progeny, traveled about 80 kilometers from Mecca to Taif. No cars at that time, by feet. 80 kilometers. Now imagine by feet how many days it's going to take. He went there to give them the message of Islam. And because Taif was a city with trees and water, it was like a resort for the rich people living in Mecca and Medina. So they told them, when the prophet comes, throw a stone at him. Don't let him come inside the city. Because if he would come inside the city and talk to people, and if people would believe him, then no rich people from Mecca would come to Taif, and Taif would go bankrupt. So the kids were waiting for the prophet at the entrance, at the gate. And as soon as the prophet got close to the city, they started stoning him. And blood was running from the prophet's face and legs. So he decided to just come back. He said, let's forget about it. I cannot go into that city. They're going to kill me. He came back. And while he was resting by a wall, he said, God, please forgive them. Please forgive them. They don't know what they are doing. They haven't heard my message yet. Please forgive them. A person was behind the wall. And he said, who are you? Those people are stoning you to death. You're bleeding from everywhere. And you're asking your God to forgive them. Tell me, what is your message? It's a beautiful message. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his progeny, explained to him what his message was all about. The guy became Muslim on the field and said the Shahadatain, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Prophet Muhammad came back to Mecca. They asked, how was your trip? He said, very fruitful, very fruitful. They said, so you went into Taif and the whole city became Muslim? He said, no, they threw a stone at me. They barely killed me. But just one person, when I explained to him my message, he became a Muslim. He believed in me. He believed in my God. This is our message. This is the message of Islam. This is the message of the Prophet. And here is the message in the book of Kings. A couple of young kids. They didn't throw any stone at that prophet. They just told him bald-headed. They're young kids. They want to have fun. Sometimes my own son called me bald-headed. It's okay, we laugh. But no, that prophet would curse them. And because he would curse them, God would send the she-birds, and the birds would kill 42 children. And now that prophet was happy. So, brothers and sisters, if we want to defend our religion, we need to be educated. Not only about the Quran, but also about other books. I think it's extremely important for us Muslims living in a non-Muslim world, mostly Christian world or non-Christian. It is extremely important for us to know those things. When somebody is telling you your religion is a religion of violence, tell them, listen, you have to separate the Quran and what happens in the Muslim world for 1,400 years. You have to separate those. They have nothing to do with each other. On one part, you had the Quran, the Prophet, and the family of the Prophet that were totally bypassed by the bunch of hungry people, power-hungry people. And on the other side, you had a bunch of poor people that took hostage Islam. They took Islam as a hostage for their own purpose, for their own worldly desires. But because Islam was powerful at that time, they used it. And they totally changed it for their own purpose. Separate those. Tell them, you want to know the true Islam? You want to know the true Islam? I would teach you. I would give you books about the true Islam. You want to know the true Islam? The true Islam is the Islam of the Prophet and his progeny, the Shia Islam. This is the true Islam. Now read it. If you see any violence in it, if you see any injustice in it, if you see any unjust war in it, let me know, because there is none. Everything is about peace, is about love, it's about compassion, is about living peacefully with each other. Everything is about science, is about education, is about understanding, which is totally, brothers and sisters, opposite of the other Islam, which is an Islam of war, of injustice, of killing, of discrimination, and keeping people as stupid as they can, so they would not understand the true message of the Prophet and his progeny. It's very simple. If you want to defend Islam without the Ahl Bayt, you would lose it, brothers and sisters. Do you know what they would say? They're going to tell you, do you know that one of the close commander at the time of Abu Bakr, the first Caliph, one of the commander was told to go to a tribe and ask the leader of the tribe to pay the tax to the Caliph, because he was refusing to pay tax. He was refusing to pay taxes because he didn't consider that guy as the Caliph. He said, I don't accept you as the Caliph, because it was, if you say we need an election, we didn't have an election. If you're talking about selection, Prophet Muhammad never told you you're going to be selected after him. So selection or election, you cannot be the Caliph. Through neither process, you cannot be. So why do I have to pay taxes? So Abu Bakr sent his command, military command. He said, go and get the taxes. So he went there and told him, I'm here to take the taxes. If not, we're going to have war. The guy, being a true follower of Prophet and his progeny, he said, why fight between Muslims? Be my guest tonight. You and your soldiers, be our guest. We're going to feed you, you can sleep here. Tomorrow morning, we're all going to go together see the Caliph, the so-called Caliph. And let's talk. What can be solved with talking? Why solve it with war? The guy said, okay. The military commander said, okay. This story has been narrated in all books. But I'm just telling you, and a lot of non-Muslims, they know that story. So when they tell you that story, there is absolutely no way you can defend Islam as a religion of peace and understanding. The commander said, okay, so we're going to sleep here tonight. Tomorrow we're going to go together. But what he did, secretly, he had a meeting with his soldiers. He said, tonight, I'm going to kill the leader of the tribe. You're going to sleep in any house. You're going to kill the man. Kill the man of the household. Tonight, when I give you the signal. So at night, the commander killed the chief of that tribe. And every soldier killed the man of the household that they were as a guest. They were being invited as a guest. They were being fed and they could sleep in the best room in the house as a guest. But as a thank, they killed the guy, the man of the house. Now the commander-in-chief, not only he killed the chief of the tribe, he also raped his wife. He raped his wife. We are talking about Islam, brothers and sisters. He raped his wife. And the next morning, they cut their head off of every man. They brought the head and the woman and children to the first caliph. Telling him, here, I solved the problem. They didn't want to pay taxes, so I solved the problem. Now, even if you are not a Muslim, even if you are not a believer, let's say you are a president of a country, and they bring you that commander, telling you that he killed innocent people and raped the wife of the chief of the tribe. What would you do? The minimum, at least, is to create a fake court, try, to make people quiet by such an act of injustice. Have a fake court, bring this guy. I mean, if you're really, true to yourself and true to your God, you would just kill that person. Because there were so many witnesses. Not only killing an innocent person, raping his wife. But you know what happened? The guy got elevated in rank. He got a promotion for doing this. And they gave him Saiful Islam. They gave him the title of Saiful Islam. It means the sword of Islam. A guy that is killed innocent people, raped his wife, became the sword of Islam. Now, can you defend that religion? Can you go talk to a Christian and say, my religion is a religion of peace? Can you do that? You can't. Don't fool yourself. You want to defend your religion? You have to accept the mistakes that happened in Islam after the Prophet. You have to accept those mistakes and say that, yes, people in the beginning of Islam made mistakes. Those mistakes continued and are still continuing. And unless we clean the house, we clean our own house from inside, say anything about other people, brothers and sisters. Our house is so dirty with injustice, with a bunch of criminals being in power. Our house is so dirty, brothers and sisters, that we cannot say anything about other people before we clean our own house. Inshallah, next week, brothers and sisters, I would continue this program. Thank you very much for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
There are 7 other dimensions that are hidden from us, that are hidden from our physical eye.
Anyone who is following a specific path in religion has his fingers in his ears, has his hands in front of his eyes, and he doesn't want to see, and he doesn't want to hear. The majority of people today following the three major religions have absolutely no idea of the religion. The only people that would understand are what mentioned, or Quran is mentioning as ulul albab, men of understanding. So we have free will. Every single person has free will. But our free will and our control of our surrounding can get stronger and stronger if we start to purify our nafs.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. مدیریت و کارکنان شبکه سلام هیچ گونه مسئولیتی در قبال مطالب مطرح شده از طرف سخنرانان، برنامه‌سازان، میهمانان، اطلاع دهندگان و مکالمات تلفنی بینندگان ندارند. Disclaimer. The management and staff of Salaam TV are not responsible for the views and opinions of the speakers, guests, and callers to our live programs.